look, the reality of things, the truth is, and you've all heard it, at least many of you have heard it. If you've never heard it and you're hearing it for the first time, I want you to understand its truth. You can look it up right now. All right. It's absolute truth. Hesitancy, vaccine hesitancy, people who don't want to take the vaccine. All right. Most of them are black. Black people don't want to take the vaccine. All right. There's a lot of people that don't want to take the vaccine. I'm not saying this to single out black people. I'm just telling you a statistical fact. I want you to know this fact so that you understand how the mainstream media and how Joe Biden and his group there, I don't want to call them administration because they don't do anything, but his party of folks, I guess you could call it, his party of good dudes, I guess. I don't know. I guess you could call Psaki a dude. She kind of looks like one. They lie to you. They all lie to you. They lie to me. They lie to you. They think you're stupid. They tell you to get the vax, and they tell you that everybody wants to get the vax, and they tell you that evil Trump supporters make up all the folks that don't want to get the vax, and that's just not true. That's just not true. The truth is that it shouldn't matter who does or doesn't get the vax. All right? It's your own choice. All right. It seems that some groups, all right, some groups that we don't see to eye with most of the time, we can at least agree with that concept. All right. That the government doesn't have the right to tell us what to put in our body. And we don't. All right. We don't or shouldn't be. I guess I should say we shouldn't be persecuted. We shouldn't be punished. We shouldn't be subjugated. Or we shouldn't be put in invisible chains for not getting the vaccine. All right. There's a thing called respect. I've talked about it before. And we should be able to respect each other and what each other do, what we believe. Hey, if you don't want to be near a vaccinated person or an unvaccinated person or a masked person or a non-masked person, stay the hell away. But the government doesn't have the right to tell me that my 2-year-old needs to wear a mask on an airplane. How the hell does that work? And my local government doesn't have the right to tell me that I can't go to KFC if I don't wear a mask or if I don't have a vaccine. Like in many places around this country, they're starting to sprout up their vaccine card BS, their vaccine card nonsense. All right. And some groups, some BLM groups, they're protesting this. They're showing the public. You have CNN, you have other mainstream media organizations telling people, saying that black people love to get vaccinated, love it, want nothing more than a vaccination. But the facts are on video. The facts are on picture. This is 2021. Social media is a thing. And as this says, this is a website, hotair.com, inevitable. BLM to protest restaurant over vax passport policy. All right. I want to show you, just to back up all the things I'm saying, just to back up the last article we went through in the show, the one that was talking about the Black Hammer organization. I want to show you how these groups, some of these people, all right, some of these Americans that don't see eye to eye with us, all right, at least believe in basic American principle, all right, which is, hey, big government, stay the F out of my business. All right. Listen, just because I'm agreeing, I'm going to say it again. I've said it 100 times so far in this podcast, but I have to say it so people understand where I stand. All right. And don't lose faith in James Lane just because they think I mean one thing, but I really mean something else. Just because I agree with one thing that they believe in doesn't mean that I agree with or stand for or believe in their core values. We do not share complete core values, though some of them may be the same. But like I said before, and like I'll say again, I can respect somebody, even if there's somebody I don't see eye to eye with, even if there's somebody I consider my enemy. I respect somebody who is at least honest and sticks with their beliefs and doesn't twist what they believe in, doesn't twist definitions, doesn't twist the truth to gain advantage. All right. If they're going to stay honorable, all right, if they're going to keep to the rules of war, let's just use that, then I can at least share some common ground with somebody I don't share core values with, because I am a human, I'm an adult, all right, and it's 2021. That's just how it works. We don't have to bash everybody over the head with a frying pan. All right, let's read this, guys. Enough chitter chatter, enough jibba jabba, as Mr. T would say. After a disturbance, be Baracus. After a disturbance, come on, you better know. You better know. This podcast has been going long enough, and I've made enough goofy references over the last 170 plus episodes for you not to know, if you're young, for you not to know what the A-Team is and who B. Baracus is and how you shouldn't get him on an airplane. And if you don't know, figure it out. After a disturbance, let's get back to this, at Carmine's restaurant in New York City last week that led to several people being arrested for assault, a new angle has been brought into a debate over immunity passports and vaccination mandates in bars and restaurants. 3 women who were visiting from Texas arrived at the restaurant and were seated last Thursday, but when a group of men arrived to join them, they refused to show the hostess their CDC vaccination cards or any other acceptable immunity passport and were refused service. This led the women to assault the hostess. While unfortunate, we've heard similar stories before, but as I said, this one has a bit of a twist. The women and the men were all black. Now, the New York chapter of Black Lives Matter is entering into the fray, and they'll now be protesting the restaurant over accusations of racism. Going one step further, they're declaring that the entire vaccine passport plan is racist. That comes from the Daily Wire. Quote, Black Lives Matter's Greater New York chapter plans to protest Carmine's restaurant in New York City following reports that a hostess tangled with a group of black women over COVID-19 vaccination cards. The group is also claiming that the city's vaccine passport is racist. Fox News reported that a 24-year-old hostess was assaulted Thursday at Carmine's by the 3 black female tourists from Texas after the hostess requested to see their COVID-19 vaccine card. Kaidia Nakenji Rankin, 44, Tayani Keshe Rankin, 21, and Sally Rochelle Lewis, 49, were arrested and charged with assault and criminal mischief. Later reports seemed to indicate that the women were seated, but ended up in an argument with the hostess after men who were supposed to join their party refused to provide the hostess with their proof of COVID-19 vaccination. See, look. Like I said before, remember states' rights? I've talked about states' rights before. These people, all right, these Americans obviously have a very Texas outlook on things. Vaccine passport? Hell no. That's what they believed, and they got into a tuffle. A BLM spokesperson released a statement saying he believes the city's immunity passport mandates for indoor activities are being used to keep black people out of spaces. He further claimed that if the passport system isn't canceled, police will use vaccination status as an excuse to harass and arrest our people. Look, police under the control of Joe Biden, under the control of the mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, under those folks, under the left's control, they probably will. Will this keep black people out of spaces? Yes, it probably will. Does it? Yeah, probably does. Is it a conspiracy to keep black people out of spaces? Well, Democrats are racist. At least Civil War Democrats even beyond that, they have a track record of doing things that cause a disproportionate abuse or a disproportionate neglect to happen among African Americans. It comes from the left. It doesn't come from white people. It comes from the left, plain and simple. So I kind of agree. With this. And this squashes certain things. We've talked about it before, but the left always cries about how vaccinations are good, but voter ID is bad. Those are the leftist elites, the progressive left that wants to control black people. That's the folks that want to control black people. Look, I agree with voter ID. I don't agree with vaccine passports. Vaccine passports is something that isn't just racist against black people, but it's racist against all people who want to choose what's best for themselves as individuals. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Honestly, I'm shocked we hadn't already reached this point by now, and this is going to make for some awkward, uncomfortable moments for our liberal media figures who cover all of the vaccine mandate battles on a regular basis. When it's a group of mostly white people showing up to a protest, protesting vaccine mandates, it's easy enough for the liberal mainstream media to lump them all together as disgruntled Southern Trump supporters who refuse to follow the science and are endangering everybody else with their fake science, right? This is the left's fake science they're talking about. They aren't following any science. They're following what's best for themselves, what's best for the Democrat Party, what's best for the woke liberal progressive movement. When we don't follow that science, they say we are endangering everybody else. But now the New York chapter of BLM is applying the same rule to the vaccination mandates that they do to everything else, with most of the media happily singing along with their choir. If anything ever impacts people of color disproportionately, they claim that the thing in question is racist, no matter what the underlying cause of the disparity may be. That's what they're doing here. But what BLM is tactically admitting here is something that we've already seen in all of the national vaccination statistics since the doses were first rolled out. Vaccine hesitancy is much higher among the Black and Hispanic Americans on a per capita basis. That pattern has held up in New York City all year, and when you start requiring vaccination passports to engage in public life, you're bound to be hitting Black patrons disproportionately. Most of our media mavens have been happy to blame the unvaccinated for everything, including the kitchen sink up until now. But will the hosts at CNN be willing to step up and blame Black unvaccinated tourists for their own inability to go out for a meal and say that BLM is wrong about this? Up until now, the press has been able to happily blame a bunch of conservative rednecks and point out how ignorant and unscientific they are to resist being vaccinated. The shoe is going to be on the other foot now, however. I can't wait to see how they plan to spin this situation, which they can't. All they can do is stop talking about it, which is what they will try to do. It's what they're trying to do with everything. But as Joe Biden fails and fails and fails, as the left-wing psychotic progressive movements fail and fail and fail, and as they eat themselves, the pile of failure will become too big, the floodgates will burst open, and they won't be able to hide it forever. All right? They won't be able to hide it forever. And when they can't hide it, when they can't hide it anymore, when it becomes so much of a gigantic growth, a tumor on the back of the American people, the American working class from all walks of life, the left will then have to ask themselves the question. The left will have to look in the mirror. They will have to say, oh my God, what are we going to do again? What will we do again if Trump wins?